Welcome everyone to the Credit Concept Podcast. I am your host, Credit Coach Nicole Scott, and in today's episode, I have a very special guest, and we are going to be talking about the top 200 banks that you can get a bag from. So there are no excuses if you can't use one bank. We're gonna give you 200 options for you to get funding from these top rated banks. Before we get started, I'm going to let my special guest introduce himself to you guys. He is the man. I'm telling you, I have been following him for years. So if you haven't followed him already, make sure to head over to his YouTube channel and Instagram and follow him.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say, thank you for having me on. It's definitely a privilege, an honor to be on with you. I've been following you for a long time as well. But my name is 𝓕𝓚𝓏𝓏𝓏𝓏𝓏. I'm out of Orlando, Florida originally. I'm down in Tampa, Florida now. Been in the credit space for like the last 5 or 6 years. I ain't gonna talk your head off because we got a lot to cover. But yes, 𝓕𝓚𝓏𝓏𝓏𝓏𝓏. I go by king_finance man on all the social platforms.
Make
YouTube,
sure to follow the right one because there has been
Right.
so many people that have impersonated this man trying to get your money, but there is only one official and it is verified account on Instagram.
Yeah, king_finance man. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the platforms. So yeah, one official account. Hopefully all the hacked accounts and scammer accounts are gone. But yeah, let's get to it, man. I'm excited.
Yes, I'm excited too. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. And like I said, guys, we're going to be talking about the top banks for you to get a bag. Some of these banks are geo-restricted. I've covered what that means in some of my previous videos. So if you don't know what that means, is basically if you're not in that area, you're not going to qualify to get a bank account with that particular bank unless you kind of do some workarounds, which, you can get a virtual office location, you can get a virtual personal address, you can use family members' addresses, friends' addresses, things of that sort. So let's go ahead and get started. So I want to talk about obviously top places, top banks to get a bag from. And the way that we came up with this information is based on facts. So I want you guys to get ready. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to follow both me and King Finance Man so you can get more information, because I want to give you a huge shout out to those of you that are listening and watching and trying to change your life with credit, because this whole credit thing, it takes time. There's no special recipe. It just takes time and dedication and hard work. So
Let me piggyback off of that, because that is so important. Because I'm sure, just like you, or just like me, I see these people on social media. Well, we can do this in 2 weeks. We can get rid of this collection and get you funded in 17 days. And I'm just like, the likelihood of that happening is so slim. All right. It's possible, yes, but is it likely? Absolutely not. And when you speak in generalities, it takes time, especially now with so many people doing it. Yes. What worked a couple of years ago just doesn't work as effective in this day and age. No. Yes, we can still get your results. And a lot of the times, though, we just can't get them as fast as we would like. Because I tell clients all the time, as fast as you want results, I want them faster. Because that's one less headache that we have to deal with. Y'all have to understand, us as credit specialists, we want results extremely fast, 100 times faster than y'all do. So trust us when we tell y'all. If we telling y'all it takes time, that means it just takes time. It is a process.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I always tell people, if it sounds too good to be true, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but guess what? It is. I hate to be the one that's like, oh, you don't know nothing. It's like, well, go ahead and fuck around and find out. You know what I mean? I hate to say it that way, but fuck around and find out, because when you see that nice shiny rainbow with the pot of gold at the bottom of it looking all shiny and bright, guess what? It's fool's gold. It's not real. So when you go to grab it, it ain't really there. So, you know, if you knew better, you can do better. You know what my motto is, guys. If it sounds too good to be true, please put the sensors on in your brain. If it was really that easy, everyone would have good credit, right?
I swear, it wouldn't be millions and millions of people with bad credit if it was just that simple.
Yeah. So it takes time, but you just have to be patient. And that's, you know, something that I talk about often is dedication and patience. You know, I've been through myself. Marquise has been through this himself. We've helped thousands of people together. And there's no special sauce. There's no special recipe. You know, some people might have results faster than others. But in this day and age, there's a tremendous amount of technology that's just getting smarter and smarter. And, you know, especially if things have happened in the last 2 years, that the banks and financial institutions, you know, they don't usually cache their records until it's been 4 years or more. So you just really have to be responsible with credit and, you know, do what you can. If something comes back validated after, you know, so many tries, I always tell people, let's give it 6 months or so. Yeah. And then if, you know, you're in a rush, you don't have any more time, hey, we might just have to settle it, because it is what it is. We got to move forward. Okay. So enough about the negative. We're going to get into all the fun stuff here, guys, because
get into the fun stuff once you do get your credit right.
Absolutely. Because this information is going to save you thousands and thousands of dollars. Not to mention that most of these banks have really great, not only auto loans with reasonable interest rates, home loans, business loans, any type of financial product that you would need. These are the banks that you want to get with. I'm telling you guys. Why? Because they have the most amount of assets. All right. So get ready. Make sure that you've subscribed. Give us a huge thumbs up. And I want to thank you guys for watching today. I know we've talked your ear off enough already. You're ready to get to it. So let's get into it. Top 100 banks. And these are just banks. They are not credit unions. We also have a list of the top 100 credit unions. Okay. So this right here, let me tell you, I'm excited. I'm excited about this. Like I was making this slideshow last night and I was like, oh my God, like we're dropping some major game. And like how my subscribers say, it's a game changer. You know, it's a game changer. Because
imagine this is just 100 banks, no credit unions. There's clearly way more than 100 banks. But just imagine getting $10,000 from 100 banks. Just 10 from 100 banks.
Man, no excuse.
Just imagine that.
There's no excuse, because you're not going to get approved from every bank. Okay. Let's just be honest, unless you have like perfect credit. But if you get told no, you have 100 banks to choose from. We're giving you 200 total, 100 banks, 100 credit unions. Okay. And these are the top 100 based on their assets. So this is not just us saying, well, I think this is a good bank. No, these are banks based on the asset size. So we're talking about banks that truly have the funds to allocate to, you know, credit cards, to business loans, to mortgages, auto loans. They got it. Okay. You just got to get the bag. You just got to get your credit right and get the bag. All right, so we've got our first group of the 100, and we're not going to go over all of these banks because obviously you see them here on our screen, but I'm just going to point out some of my favorite. I'm going to let Marquise pick out some of his favorite, and we'll just kind of give you some insight on, you know, what we think about some of these banks. But keep in mind, most of these banks, most of these banks, but these banks are listed in order based on the asset size. So Chase is number 1. Wells Fargo is number 2. You get the drift here. Bank of America, number 3. Those are like the top 3 banks. Why? It's based on their assets, because they have a ton of money to give you, but you just have to make sure that your credit is right before you approach them. And you have to understand some of these banks are more selective and they don't want to deal with people that are risky. So if you have below a 720 FICO credit score, they're probably going to deny you. If you have more than, say, 4 inquiries, they might deny you. Like Chase is very inquiry sensitive, and they have that 524 rule. So if you've opened up more than 5 accounts in the last 24 months, they're probably going to say no because you're too risky. So, you know, I'll let you start because I'm like a little kid in a candy store. I'm like, I like all these banks.
I know. I like all of them too. But excuse me, if I had to pick 3 of my favorites on here, I kind of alluded to some of them earlier.
Yeah.
So Truist for sure, just because they aren't as strict, you know, as of right now. Things change, things are fluid. So
yeah,
get your credit right and get it right fast. But Truist, KeyBank, even though KeyBank is outside of my footprint, but we've got some people funded through KeyBank, so KeyBank is cool. And then I have to go with PNC Bank as my third.
I like PNC too. They have really good interest rates. And right now, they are one of the banks where I've seen the lowest interest rates on vehicles. Because as we know, like the economy sucks right now. Interest rates are kind of high. And there's not really a cap on interest rates. You know, interest rates, the lowest interest rates that I've seen have been at PNC Bank for vehicles. And last I checked, it was 6%. So that's still kind of high, but anything under 10 would be the goal, right? And that's what a lot of people have to realize. You have to understand the terms, right? When we're at the auto dealership and we're trying to buy a car and we hear that word approved, that's all we care about. Okay, where do I sign? I'm approved. Let's go. Let's go. But erase that mindset. It's very, you know, stressful being at the dealership trying to get a vehicle, especially if you don't have the best credit, because you're willing to take whatever they'll give you, even if it was a PT Cruiser. I'm just kidding. But you have to understand what is the interest rate, okay? Because you don't want to have a $600 or $700 car payment that you can't afford, okay? And don't have the mindset, well, I'll just take it and deal with it later, because you're going to have to start working on your credit now and invest more money to fix your credit so you can refinance your vehicle in the next 6 to 12 months so you can get affordable auto payments, okay? Some of the best banks to refinance your vehicle are going to be credit unions, but PNC is not a credit union. They are very good. I also like Truist, even though that's outside of my footprint. I'm in California, so some of the banks that are pretty popular out here, obviously your top 3 are pretty popular anywhere, but let's see, US Bank, that's a pretty good one. Regions Bank, I don't see a lot of Regions out here in California, but I do like that bank.
We have them here.
Okay. Yeah, you guys got a lot of, you got Huntington out there too, right? Yeah, Huntington's a good one. M&T Bank, that's another one. Woodforest National Bank, a lot of people don't talk about this bank, but
yeah, I'm looking at that one. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you got that on this list because I didn't even know about this one.
Yeah, this is a pretty big bank, and I mean, a lot of people just don't talk about this bank. So these are obviously, you know, your top banks right here. And again, these are not the credit unions. These are just, you know, your normal banks. But these are going to be, you know, the top selected banks if you're looking to start off. And if you have issues opening up bank accounts, you need to get that fixed immediately, even if that means paying the alleged amount that's listed on your report with ChexSystems or Early Warning. Go to their website, request your report, and look at it. If you need help, you can book a call with either of us to figure it out. But that is going to prevent you from opening up bank accounts, you know, on the personal side. We can't have that. We need you to get in on the personal side and then build that relationship up over towards the business side. Okay.
Right.
So
let's give them some quick gems real quick too, while we on this list. So from some of my favorite banks that we just gave y'all. So PNC Bank, they're going to pull from, let's tell them where they're going to pull from. PNC Bank going to typically pull from Experian.
Yep.
Key Bank, we spoke about earlier, Equifax.
Bank of America is primarily an Experian bank as well. Sometimes I've seen them pull a second bureau from TransUnion or Equifax, but primarily they're Experian. Right, same so with Chase too. Chase could be Experian and Equifax, but primarily Chase
could be pretty random. But
yeah,
I'm still doing that. But to piggyback off of Bank of America, for me, for example, here in Florida, when I got my business auto loan through them, they pulled my Experian.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I got my business credit card from them, they pulled TransUnion.
Ooh, that's a gem right there. That's a gem.
Just to give y'all a little heads up of what may happen, at least here in the southern region, they pulled my Experian for the business auto loan, and they pulled my TransUnion for the business credit cards.
That's good to know, because that's another thing that a lot of people don't talk about is banks will use different credit bureaus for different credit products. And I've seen that a lot with different banks. Like, for example, Navy Federal, they're, primarily a TransUnion bank on the personal side, but I've also seen them pull from Equifax for different credit products with different people, not in California, but I work with a lot of people that are in other states as well. So I've seen them primarily with TransUnion, and then some credit products with TransUnion and Equifax. It's mainly like when you get a vehicle, you could see that other pull. And then on the business side, they're pulling from Experian on the business side for your personal credit.
You know what happened with Navy? See, Navy primarily before was an Equifax bank.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I don't know when they kind of switched over to TransUnion. And see, this is what I used to do when I was, I just happened to be on the phone with Navy one day and just asked a lot of questions.
That's the way to go, man. That is the way to do it. Get that banker that wants to talk.
Right. Exactly. They were primarily an Equifax bank, and then they switched over to TransUnion. And like you just said, on the business side, it definitely is Experian. So what I was told was, and I don't know if it's still like this. This was maybe like a year or two ago. When you apply for a new credit product, they were, they had switched over to TransUnion. But like I wanted a credit limit increase or something that I already had, but wanted to upgrade or whatever the case is, they were still pulling the Equifax.
Oh, wow. So initial credit products will be TransUnion. And then if you want any credit line increases, that's where we're going to see Equifax at.
Right. At the time, maybe it's all TransUnion now because they converted over. But at the time, that's what I was told.
Interesting.
Right.
I was just on the phone with one of my clients, and he was telling me an interesting story about TransUnion. And I always like to share these little tidbits with you because, things are always changing, and that's why a lot of this information isn't in black and white, because there's so much gray area, and they're always, changing things, right? They're always trying to stay one step ahead of us, right? But he was telling me that he was speaking with someone at Navy Federal, and he was telling him, don't apply for any credit products now because your credit score is so low. You need to wait until your credit score goes up a little bit and then apply, because if we pull your credit now, we can still see that. So it would look like, you know, you got credit repair or that it wasn't right. So that always kind of stuck with me, because I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. So if you are planning to apply for anything with Navy Federal, don't apply until you are ready. Don't just apply if you're getting credit repair and then your credit score is going to go up in like 3 months. You want to make sure that you do everything very strategically. Some things that you can get with Navy Federal that don't require a credit pull is the pledge loan. And I've talked about this a number of times, but it just helps you build credit. It will report to all 3 of the credit bureaus as like an installment loan. It is secured, so it is your own money, but it doesn't require them to pull your credit. So that's a great way that you can help build credit, build your relationship while you're waiting on your credit score to go up.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because I didn't even know that. I always heard about their quote unquote internal score. But,
yeah, they got their internal score down. And, you know, the more accounts that you have with them, checking account, savings account, if you have some sort of CD account, I recommend doing a CD account. It's like a savings account for a certain term. If you get like a pledge loan, those are all things that are going to help increase your internal score, which goes up to a 450. And that way, you know, it just helps build that relationship. So I have a really good internal score. The only way that you really know what your internal score is when you apply for a credit product, and then they'll actually send you a letter. Keep that letter, because the letter will tell you what your credit score was at the time of approval or denial based on whatever the outcome was. But on the back of that, it's going to tell you what your internal score with Navy Federal is. And there's not really like a black and white guide on how to get your internal score with Navy Federal as high as possible. But obviously the concept behind it is the more positive accounts that you have with Navy Federal, the more like investment accounts that you have with Navy Federal, the more your score is going to be with them.
Right.
All right, great. So let's go ahead and move on to the second group in our list. And so there'll be 16 banks on our next slide here, which, oh my God, this is like, I would say the number one that screams to me right now is BMO Harris, because they have really stepped their game up. And obviously they're ranking very high based on assets right now. They have a ton of money that they're willing to lend out on the personal side and on the business side. Now, I've been seeing a lot of commercials for BMO Harris right now. And one thing that they're really pushing in their advertising right now is, we are the bank to give you funding to grow your business. So if you are a small business, look into BMO.
They're all about the startups.
Yep.
And they also have some minority programs too. That you don't have the best, credit score or profile, can't be horrible, can't be just hideous.
Can't be disrespectful.
Right, can't be disrespectful. But if you're middle of the road, 640, 650-ish, maybe one, derogatory mark, they're still willing to work with you with this particular minority program that they're kind of rolling out right now. So definitely keep BMO Harris in mind. And I know here in Florida, or here in where I'm at in Tampa area, we have 2 locations, 2 branches here in the area. So
nice.
I'm familiar with BMO, and great bank, definitely a great bank for startups for sure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. Capital One, obviously we've all heard of Capital One for their credit cards. The downside about Capital One is when you apply for their credit products, they are going to be pulling your credit from all 3 credit bureaus. So that's why, I'm not a fan of Capital One, but sometimes we have to start somewhere. And Capital One is usually going to be your first credit card that you get approved for when you're either rebuilding your credit or first starting out to build credit. They'll give you, like a $300 credit card, and then in 6 months graduate you to $500 and so on and so forth. But again, it's going to cost you a hard inquiry from each credit bureau, which we want to kind of avoid. If we can go with a bank that's going to approve us with only one credit pull, hard pull, and we can actually go through like a pre-qualification and do a soft pull to get pre-qualified just to make sure that everything's a go. Now, pre-qualified doesn't mean you're absolutely approved, right? But you can go to their website and see if you pre-qualified to see if it says you're good or not right now, right?
Right.
But other than that, I would say the only bank on this list would be BMO Harris for me. I'm not a huge fan of Santander because they are very high interest rates. If you do have an auto loan with Santander, I'm sure you are well aware. So we definitely want to try to get those high interest auto loans refinanced. Anything, like I said, anything under 10% interest rate is the goal, right? Because that's going to save you a tremendous amount on your auto loans. Any other banks that you can recommend to folks here?
On this particular slide, maybe First National Bank. I've heard some things about First National Bank.
I have too, actually. I've heard a lot of good things about First National Bank and City National. So there's First National and then there's City National Bank. Both of those banks I've heard great things about. So you can definitely check that out, because if you are a small business owner, or if you're someone that's looking to, get credit on the personal side, you definitely want to start building relationships with different banks and diversify your banking, not just have direct deposit at one. But if you have direct deposit with your job or your business, have that direct deposit split up, between a few different banks. So that way, if you are getting a new sign-on bonus, obviously direct deposit is going to be part of that. You can have that as a direct deposit. You don't need to have 100% of your check going in there, as long as you have some sort of direct deposit. So, just be, mindful that you don't need to have just one bank, right? And a lot of these banks will have great welcome offers where you can get money, $200 for just signing up for a bank account. So that's, pretty awesome in itself. So let's move on to the next slide here. This one has a lot of banks that I personally have never used, but I've heard really good things about. For example, Frost Bank. I personally don't have an account with them, but I have a lot of clients in Texas, and they have said nothing but positive things about Frost Bank. And same with West Banco. I've heard a lot of things about that bank as well. Fulton Bank too. I've heard a lot of, and Umpqua. That's one that I said, guys, hey, if you have an Umpqua, definitely check out Umpqua, because they are a very underrated bank. And as you can see, they have a huge amount of assets, because obviously they're on this list. That means they got the money to give.
Money. And that's another thing. A lot of y'all, just because you've never heard of a bank, that does not mean they don't have plenty of assets. And as these slides have shown, especially the last two, these are going in order of how many assets they have.
Yeah.
So that's they have more money than a lot of the banks that we haven't seen yet, that I know that y'all know.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, it's very important to especially if you're on this credit journey and ultimately you want some sort of funding, get you a mentor or get in a Facebook group, or just follow somebody who is giving out this information, so you can be on point and stay on point with all these different things.
And don't believe the hype. I tell you guys this, if it sounds too good to be true, guess what? I'm going to burst your bubble right now. Pop! It is. I said it.
It's true, though.
It is. It's so true, and, it just, That's why I get so angry when I go on social media and see this type of BS, because I'm like, how is this 23-year-old who's driving a Ferrari talking to me about credit? I mean, it blows my mind. But that's what you guys like to see, the lifestyle marketing, the jewelry, right, the fancy cars. Y'all don't want to hear this realness. You don't want to hear this realness, okay? But for those of you that do, thank you so much. You're going to get it. That's what you're going to get, because we are here to give you the real deal info, so that way you can make better informed decisions. Because don't just, pull the trigger right away. Like, I have so many clients that are like, oh, my credit score is 700. Next thing I know, they've got 10 inquiries on their credit report, pulling the trigger too soon. It's like,
I literally got a text either late last night or this morning. Somebody sent me their scores, right? One was just under 700. The other two were like 720, 730. So I said, okay, that's not bad. But I said, are they your FICO scores or are they your Vantage scores, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he said, well, I don't know. I said, well, what site are you looking at right now? He said, Identity IQ. I said, ooh, okay, that's your Vantage score.
Yeah.
Identity IQ is cool for us as
right,
a credit repair specialist, because it gives us a lot of information that we need. But in terms of the score, showing your Vantage score. So I said, here, man, here go a link to my score IQ.
Yes.
Show you your FICO score.
Yes.
It was like he signed up for it. He was like, man, I'm confused now.
Yeah.
My scores aren't showing over 700. So I said, see, that's why you got to be, keen on what's really going on, because that would have been somebody who saw his scores over 700 and then went out there and started applying for different things and getting denied all over the place.
If you knew better, you would do better. You have to understand, if you get your credit score for free, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a Vantage score. The only folks that I have ever seen that have approved somebody based on a Vantage score are property management companies, okay? Right. Because it's a cheaper way to obtain someone's credit report and credit scores, okay? Now, some of these apps that you see, you just have to look at how your score is being calculated, okay? There's 3 things that I tell people to look for. What method is it being calculated with? Either Vantage 3.0, Vantage 4.0, or if it's a FICO, usually it's going to be like a FICO 8 or FICO 9 scoring model, right? But different credit products might use a different FICO, score. So that's another thing. Navy Federal, they usually use a FICO 9 credit scoring model. Same thing with like Mercedes-Benz. When they pulled my credit, they used a FICO 9 credit scoring model to calculate my credit score. But you have to look at, how it's being calculated, what the date is as of. Is it as of today or is it as of a month ago? Because obviously you want the most latest and greatest info. And then also, where is this from? TransUnion, Experian, or Equifax? Because generally, if you're using like a free app, like with, your bank, it's only going to be from one credit bureau. So those are some of the things that you just have to kind of keep in mind when you're looking at it. It's good to, just kind of see what everyone is saying, so you can make sure all the data is somewhat, up to date.
Because like I tell people all the time, because people love to give Credit Karma a bad rap. But I'm like, y'all, it's just because y'all don't really understand.
Right.
Like,
I love Credit Karma. It's a great way.
I hate the way they switched it up now, but the way they had it just before they made it, how it looks, I was like, it literally gives you everything right there in a snapshot.
Yeah.
And like, information-wise, it's going to be pretty on point for the most part. I say the scores I don't even pay attention to, because I know nobody's pulling those scores anyway.
Right.
Information-wise, it's free and it's it's there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But to the overall point, you have to know and have a good understanding of what they're looking at and where they're getting it from. You know what I'm saying? So FICO scores, 10 out of 10 times is what they're gonna pull when you're applying for any type of credit product.
Yep, exactly. So, if you're educated, you can make better decisions to get you approved, because a lot of people just go into this blind and just start firing off applications and it's like shooting a gun in the dark. Like, you have to do this strategically. You have to have a plan. You need to be able to understand the process, because it's usually going to end up in a denial if you don't know what you're doing, or if your credit profile isn't updated. You don't want to apply for credit cards if you have a bunch of credit cards that have a balance on them, regardless if the balance is $1 or 50 cents. Okay. If you are applying for credit cards, do yourself a favor. Pay off all of your credit cards to a zero balance and allow them to report, because the banks do not want to give money to people who look like they need money. They want to give a lot of money to those of you that look like, I don't need the money. No big deal. If you don't give it to me, someone else will. Okay. So make sure that you pay your credit cards off and then allow it time to update on your reports. Do not apply for credit cards if your credit cards are maxed out, if you have a balance on all of your credit cards. Just no.
So it's much more that goes into funding, or it's mainly funding, because when we're talking credit card funding, especially, like she said, please it's so much more that goes into it than just your score. Because again, you could have a nice 720 or so, but your profile may not be, conducive to the banks lending you money.
Right. Every bank is different. Some banks are more easygoing than others, but overall, you just have to understand the concept. Get yourself ready before you apply. If you want to apply for credit and you want to apply for a couple different cards at the same time, get your plan together. Okay.
That's where credit card stacking comes into play. But
exactly. That's a whole, I just did a video on that one. That's we could go on all day, really. But we're going to try to stick to the script here, guys. So our next block of banks here to get the bag. Oh my God. This one, let me see. Ameris Bank. That's going to be my top pick right there.
There you go. Yeah, mine too. I would have to say mine.
Yes. First Merchants Bank. I've heard good things about that one. So, it's funny because like me doing credit and looking at some of these banks I've never heard of myself. But
I'm looking for some days, but I don't know.
But they're not in every state. And if you really wanted to go bank with these banks, there's workarounds. Okay. If you don't have family, you can get a address in these banks, or if you're a business, you can elect to have a foreign entity and get a virtual business office in these locations to get a bank account. Okay. And that's the great thing about it. I actually just partnered with a company that offers virtual business locations pretty much everywhere, and I will leave the link below for you guys, because I've used Opus, and I've used a lot of these other I've used Regus, I've used a ton of different virtual office locations, and you have to check the address. You have to check if the address is listed as a mail receiving company. Okay. And this company that I just partnered with, I've checked a ton of their addresses, and I have not found any that have been marked as a mail receiving company. Okay, so I'm going to leave the link below for you guys if you need a virtual business address.
See, again, more gems being dropped
all the time. Just let it rain. We're making it sprinkle with these gems. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. I mean, some of these other banks could be really great, but I really just don't have a lot of knowledge in regards to, say, like Flagstar. But if you guys in the comments, if you guys have had, any relations with these banks, drop it below. Let me know your experience with some of these banks, because obviously, like, I've never met one person that has had 100 banks, but if we all come together as a community, we can all learn from each other and say, hey, what bank is going to be best for me? Because if this person had a great experience with them and they can refer me to their banking relationship manager, we're all good. Because one thing that I've noticed is, a lot of people, influencers, they talk about how they have a bank relationship manager at the bank and, they got the plug. Guess what? That person works at the bank and that's their job. Okay. You can literally do the same thing. You just have to, go walk into the bank or call that person or email that person, and you can get the same relationship because they have parameters, okay, and they're not going to overstep the parameters that they're given from their bank.
If he send him, I'm just push it through.
Yeah,
you still gotta meet all the credit requirements.
Yeah,
so is it really a plug?
Right, it's not a plug. Okay,
right, a plug is somebody who I can go with a 300 credit score and still get $50,000 credit card. That's a plug. But if I still gotta have a 720, no derogatories, a full profile.
Yeah. Guess what? That's their job, to bring in people and to take applications. They're not providing any sort of workaround, any favors. If anything, they're saying, hey, this is not a good time for this person. Like, that's the type of relationship that we need. Hey, maybe you should do this, that, and the other before we submit your application, because I don't think it's going to be a good time right now, right? That's another thing, is you have to understand, is it your time to get funding right now, or do you need to wait, for some things to update? Personal info, very important. That's another one. So just make sure that you are set up properly. Okay. I just had someone apply for the Apple Card, and they couldn't verify him because his address was not updated. So he was denied. And guess what? Goldman Sachs, they do underwriting for the Apple Card and for the GM Financial Card. And that GM Financial Card is on the personal side and the business side. So that's a really great card, but you need to make sure that your personal information matches. Whatever is on your credit report should be on your application. Don't put like totally different locations, because you're going to get denied. Make sure your personal info is updated and use the same exact name and same exact address. I'm talking about if you have a middle initial and you put J period, that needs to be the exact same on every report. If you're not using an initial, just leave it blank. But it needs to be consistent, exactly the same. Okay?
It's facts, guys. Man. Imagine not $50,000 because your personal info not up to date.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next block of banks here, guys. Man, there is some good ones here. Ooh, my God. Okay, First National Bank, that one. First National Bank is a great bank. Mechanics, that's another one that's really popular, and I don't hear nobody talking about Mechanics, First National, People's Bank. I personally don't have it, but I have heard a lot of great things about that one. So this is another really great block of banks, guys. And again, these are just normal banks. We're not even touching on the credit unions yet. We're going to get to that. We're going to be dropping 100 credit unions for you guys as well. But, some of these banks aren't going to be in your area, and that's fine. We gave you the workaround, but I'm telling you, if some of these banks are in your area, start grooming that relationship now. Start opening up a bank account with them, maybe a bank account, savings account, set up a direct deposit. Even if you're only direct depositing 10%, a lot of these banks, like I said before, they will have a welcome offer on their website. Sometimes they'll even get send you something in the mail, like, hey, if you open up a bank account, we'll give you $200 or whatever. Take advantage of those things, because most of the time, the only thing that you would need to qualify for is direct deposit. And hey, even if I'm direct depositing 5% into this bank account, that's still a direct deposit. Okay. So get your money. Get your money, please.
I love direct deposit.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And that is the thing. A lot of people don't understand that you can break up your direct deposit between, 100 different banks if you wanted to. But,
I'm sure a lot of people do not know that.
No.
So I'm crazy gems.
Right. And, a lot of you guys, you have 100% of your paycheck being deposited into your checking account. What you really need to do is have a certain percentage go into a savings account or multiple savings accounts every month and not even touch that money. That needs to be your emergency funds. And that way you can pick a bank that has the best, return on there, like, Navy Federal or a credit union. But get that savings together, guys, because a lot of people don't have any savings. So if an emergency happens, they have to put it on their credit card and then their credit score drops and it's a whole big, debacle, but we don't want that. Another bank that I want to point out to you guys is City National Bank. A lot of people do not talk about City National Bank. This bank is highly favored. I really, really like City National Bank. I have a really great friend that works for City National Bank, and they specialize in small business loans. They work with the SBA, and they have funded millions and millions of small business owners. Now, if you guys know anything about business loans, and the SBA, you'll know they pretty much want like a blood sample, a DNA, and like everything except for your left pinky. But, ultimately, if you are a business and you are set up properly, you can get SBA funding. They just want documents. Okay. And that's where, there's funding kind of has its levels, right? If you're talking about no doc funding levels, okay, that goes up to about $50K, right? About $50K is going to be no doc funding. But if you want to play in the big boy league and you want SBA money, which is the Small Business Administration, a lot of these banks offer SBA loans, right? But it's going to require documents, bank statements, tax returns, and it doesn't have to be, anything fancy. It doesn't need to show that you're making millions of dollars. Be honest, okay? Because if you have a business plan together and you show the SBA how you plan to allocate these funds to grow your business, that's what they're giving you the money for. And that's most important. So get it together, get your personal credit together. That all trickles over to the business side, because if you ain't got your personal credit, you're not going to get business funding. All of those no PG business stuff that people talk about is BS. Okay, if they're net 30s, you might be able to get a high interest auto loan. What do they got? The Sam's Club MasterCard that you can get, a high interest 20% credit card. Not much. Okay, so get your personal credit together.
That's right. That's the center of it all. That's
Absolutely.
the core. Everything. Like she said, I get so many people that DM me or whatever. I want to get business, credit, business funding.
Mm-hmm.
I asked them, how's your personal credit? This one girl responded back, oh, it's not good, but we're not worried about my personal credit because everything gonna be on the business side.
You are your business.
Well, good luck.
Yeah. That whole no PG BS that was really popular a couple years ago. Even like Divvy, Capital on Tap, it's not real. Right. Divvy is a net 30. They're going to take the money straight out of your bank account, whether you like it or not. Capital on Tap, they look at Experian on the personal side, and it is a net 30 as well. Brex, all those cards that people talk about, they're all net 30 accounts. They're charge cards, okay? They're not revolving credit cards that you can pay over time. So right. It makes it next to impossible for you to get real funding that you can actually use with a lower credit score. So ultimately, your personal credit is the foundation. Okay, I talk about foundation a lot, and that's really what it is.
There's no way around it. Like I said, if you're serious about what you're doing and you want to play in the big leagues. Like you said, a couple of those other places you can go to, but you can only go so far with
Yeah,
it.
you're gonna eventually run into blocks like, oh, you can't go past this step. Like, oh, you want to go to tier 2 on the business. Okay, some of these are gonna start requiring a personal guarantee. There's only so many store cards and gas cards and things that you can get nowadays that don't require PG. A lot of places are becoming a lot stricter because everyone and their mother and brother and everyone that was home during the pandemic, they started getting business credit. They literally ran all that no PG stuff into the ground to where nobody wants to do it anymore. The floor and decor, that was just burnt to the crisp, okay? Anytime there's like a no PG hack, it turns bad, okay? All the gas cards that used to be no PG, like WEX and Fuelman, all of those are starting to become a personal guarantee, or you have to be cash flowing. You have to understand there's going to be one of 3 things, if not maybe 2 of these things are going to be required in order for you to get approved: cash, collateral, or credit. Okay? If you ain't got cash flow, you're going to need credit. If you don't have cash flow, you might need collateral. If you don't have credit, you're going to need cash and collateral. Okay? So there you have it. So let's move on to the next one here. Dang. California Bank and Trust. Yep. That one I see out here a lot. Apple Bank. That one I
heard about Apple Bank. I heard about that one.
That one's pretty popular. There's a lot of people talking about Apple, and I personally don't use them, but I've heard good things about them. So definitely something to check out if you're in New York.
Right.
A lot of these banks I've never heard of. So again, guys, if you've had experience with some of these banks, drop it below. Let us know what your experience is, who they pull credit from, what kind of credit products do you have with them? What are some of the limits on the credit cards? Because obviously we want to find the best banks with the highest credit approvals, besides the ones that we already know of that are going to be on our top 100 credit union list. Because the credit unions, in my opinion, that's where the real bag's at, because they give you high limits. Okay, but again, if you've had experience with some of these other banks with the higher limits, let us know. West America Bank, that's another California bank I see. I'm seeing a lot of Texas banks out here. So if you guys have experience with that, let us know. Here's an Oklahoma Bank First. So a lot of good banks here, a lot of national banks, a lot of community banks. Let's get on to the next one here. So guys, if you have not by now, make sure that you have liked the video. Give me a huge thumbs up. Make sure that you've subscribed to the channel and share this information. I know the video is long, but take the time to listen to it, because this is the information that you need to know. I'm not giving you the information that sounds like, oh, that's a scam. I wish someone would call me a scam. Someone did that on my Instagram the other day, talking about, you're a scam. I'm like, well, thank you for your feedback. I looked at her Instagram page. I'm like, if anyone's the scam here, it looks like you. Like, I don't even, you have all this credit repair stuff on your profile, but I don't even know who does it. Like, get out of here with that. But make sure that you guys have shared the video, because your engagement helps me reach a wider audience, and I greatly appreciate it.
And they need to hear this info.
Everyone needs to hear this information, because this is not taught in school. I spent so much money learning this information, and I put it all together and give it to you guys for free. The only thing that you guys need to do is just take the time to listen and learn. Okay. I put the content out there for you guys. I'm getting a lot of people that are just now, coming to my channel and learning and saying, hey, I didn't know you were out there. I don't run ads, okay? I do everything organic. So it's up to you guys to spread the word, share this on your social media, share this via text. Like, hey, you got to hear this information, because these people that do credit, they keeping it real, okay? They're not trying to make a buck from you. I could care less about getting a paid client if I have to lie to them. That's not me at all. That's not him at all either. That's not what we're here for. We're here to give you the real deal information and to really help you get to the next level. Of course, it takes time, but guess what? You got to be dedicated to this shit. Okay?
Because to piggyback off of her real quick, do you know how many times, and I'm sure you can attest to this, people, when we get on these calls, they just really want us to tell them what all these people promising them.
You say you want me to lie to you. Like, exactly. Hey, girl, you know I could get your credit together in like 30 days. It's going to be $2,500.
If we just said what everybody wanted to hear. But I don't want the long-term.
I think I would be rich by now. I'm pretty sure if I told everyone that I had a call with, like, hey, no problem. I got you. I can do it. I guarantee it. Oh, 30 days? No problem. If I told everyone that I had a call with that, I would be rich.
We'll close every single call.
Yeah, I would be rich. But guess what? In the real world that we live in, it's just not true. And I don't think I could sleep at night knowing that I've taken these people's money and I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee anything. The only thing that I guarantee is that I will teach you what you need to know in order to be successful. But it's up to you to take action. It's up to you to do the right thing. It's up to you to pay your bills on time, keep your credit card balances low, and get your finances together. King Finance Man here will tell you. He is the king of finance, okay? I've been following this dude for years, okay? And he never once has advertised some BS, okay? Like these other people who promise.
I just can't do it.
Promise the world. And I'm like, that is like such BS. Like, I just can't stand it. But it is what it is, you know? And it's crazy because like I was talking to somebody the other day during a consultation and they were telling me you have to go through like 10 credit repair people to finally find a solid person. He's like, I finally found you. It only took me 10 other people to find you. I said, wow, well, I guess thank you, you know, but I only have room for so many people. So I can't take on every person that I talk to, unfortunately. And a lot of people I turn away and I'm like, dude, it's not the right time. Like, no, it's not going to work right now for us. Like, but here's what I need you to do. And then come back in a couple months and maybe you'll be ready then. But I can't help people that are behind on their bills. They're, you know, they can't even pay their car note. Their credit cards are behind. At that point, you know, you just need to get your bills paid up, get caught up.
You got to get yourself in order because now you're, no matter what I do for said person is, you so out of whack with everything that's going on in your life, it's gonna bring a headache to us. And it's like it's enough of a headache doing personal credit repair as it is. Yeah. So I'd rather be selective, you know, to your point, than just taking on any and everybody. And you know, like for me, for example, like I have different packages, right? So I started this thing probably like it's funny. I started this thing. I call it the like the headache. Like I keep track of like the headaches per package. The most expensive packages, no headaches. The most expensive package, 0 headaches.
Yep.
The least expensive one,
all headaches. All headaches.
All the headaches.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just like,
I know. It's crazy. And, you know, sometimes I hate to be that person that tells you what you don't want to hear, but, you know, I got to keep it real with you because if you knew better, you would do better. And I give you the information that you need to know, not what you want to hear. So sometimes, you know, temporarily, we might need to work another job. We might need to, bring in additional income, whether that's DoorDash, Uber Eats. There's so many different ways that you can make income temporarily with a lot of these different apps, surveys, but you need to work to get some debt paid off. Okay. Sitting around and complaining about it and wanting to pay someone to make it all go away is not realistic anymore. Okay. You need to get up and you need to get working. Okay. Get a second or third source of income and start getting some of that debt at least caught up. Okay. At least caught up.
People, but with social media, nobody wants to work anymore because it's like a bad thing to have a job.
It's not. It's not a bad thing to have a job. Right now in the economic times that we're in, you need to have a job, possibly 2 jobs. And there is a ton of tech jobs out there that are work from home. Okay. There are a ton of places that hire work from home. So there's no excuse. Put you a resume together.
Nobody has to know what you do. You just get yourself in order. You know what I'm saying? And everybody isn't an entrepreneur. That's the other thing.
Right.
Everybody isn't built to be an entrepreneur.
And that's fine.
It is to be an entrepreneur.
It's very hard. It's very lonely. It's very stressful. I have good days and I have bad days, but I've been doing this since 2019. And, it's been very challenging. It's very, expensive because you have to pay for so many different things. And when they say it takes about 5 years to really get your business going, that is no lie, right? Because I'm in about year 5 right now, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I've had to learn a lot of tasks.
You gotta, you're gonna do trial and error.
Yeah.
On these different systems you want to try. This one may not work, but I had to pay for it to see.
Right.
And then, like you said in the beginning, you just going off of what you see. We run an ad on this, we doing that. It takes a lot of money to start and operate a business.
Yes.
Now we've smartened up because of the trial and error and lived through the mistakes that we made along the way. So we know better now.
Right.
But even still, there's still expenses to run any business. So, you just got to have your stuff in order.
Yeah.
Everybody isn't meant to be an entrepreneur. Somebody has to work the jobs out there for and it's
okay to do both. It's okay if you want to start a business and you want to have a side hustle and you want to work full time. That's perfect as well. Don't let anybody tell you different, because you're going to need to fund your business before it stands on its own 2 feet. And that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Again, if you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure that you have subscribed to the channel on Instagram and on YouTube at Credit Coach Nicole Scott. And make sure to follow my boy King Finance Man on Instagram. And we're trying to grow his YouTube channel right now. So I'm going to leave a link below to his YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to it. And he's going to be uploading this video on his page as well. So give him a huge thumbs up, okay? And make sure to share this video with friends, family, text, Facebook. Blast this video, because I'm telling you, this is the information people are paying for. Yes, this video is long, but guess what? We're going to break it down so you really understand how this whole thing works. Because the one thing that I really hate is companies that are charging people 10% of whatever they get you qualified for. Funding companies, okay? So basically, if you need funding, you go to like a funding company. There's tons of them out there. And they literally charge you to submit applications on your behalf. And I just did a video, the credit card stacking video, where I showed you guys what they're doing. But yet, if you go to a funding company, they're going to be using all of these banks that we're giving you today. They're going to be filling out your application, fluffing your income, okay? And putting a title on there like operations manager or something fancy. But this is all stuff that you can do yourself. These are all the banks that they go to, okay? if you need to learn how to build a relationship with a bank representative, take them coffee. Send them DoorDash, okay? Everyone loves a good coffee. Okay, butter them up and then go sit down with them, okay?
You can literally walk right in any bank and, like she said, just start to form that relationship and, eventually build and grow it. Just like any type of relationship, you get in what you put out of it. So, like those funding companies, she's excuse me, that's all they're doing is literally filling out the applications for you. Some of them have relationships, some don't, whatever the case may be. But if you're the type of person that can take and process information, you can literally do this yourself. Now, if you're the type of person that say, hey, I just want to be hands off, I'd rather pay somebody to do it, fine, you can go that route too. But if you want to save yourself some money, like you can learn these things that we're going to be speaking about, or just knowing what banks to go to, who they pull from in terms of the credit reporting agencies. And you can literally do this stuff yourself.
Yeah. And like, if I were a funding company, I could tell someone, hey, go to Navy Federal. They get approved for a $25,000 credit card. Guess what? Right off the rip, if I'm charging someone 10%, which is on the lower spectrum of things, normal people are charging like 15%. If I'm charging 10%, I'm actually going to charge the card $2,500. So soon as you get the card, you're going to have a balance because you got to pay the person that helped get you that credit card. That's insane to me. Like, you're already going in debt. So not to mention that you're probably paying them an upfront fee, $500, $1,000 just to get started. And then you're paying them a back end fee of like 10% of whatever they helped you qualify for. So, I mean, you can literally do this stuff yourself. And that's what we're showing you guys today. So even if you can't sit and watch this video for the entire time, because yes, it's a longer video, but guess what? These are the gems that you need. You need to invest at least an hour a day to learning, okay? When you're driving, multitask, okay? Listen to this information while you're driving, because listening to music and things like that, if you're really serious about learning something, you're really not going to learn too much. This is information that you can easily listen to while you're driving, while you're working, while you're multitasking, and learn so you can elevate and get to the next level. Okay.
Just do it.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. If you've stuck around for this entire video, I cannot thank you enough, because I know this one was a long one, but we wanted to make sure that we gave you all of this information we can cover. Now, obviously, this isn't all of it, but you don't need to know everything. You just need to understand the concept of credit, the concept of banking, and do what's best fit for you. Because if you knew better, you would do better, baby. And that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, if you haven't by now, make sure that you have subscribed to our channels, Credit Coach Nicole Scott on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, King Finance Man at YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you name it. We are there, and we are going to show up for you guys. So make sure that you have subscribed.